Are you trying to decide if moving to San Diego is the right place for you? Well, I've lived here almost all my life. I'm raising my kids here. I have no plans on going anywhere. So obviously I love it, but there's still some things you want to know if you're making the move. So in this video, I'm going to make it quick, short, and dirty to just make sure you know 5 things that I think are critical as you make that decision to make San Diego home. If that's what you're looking for, stick with me. We're going to get after it right now. First thing is, let's talk about the weather. And no, it's not what you normally think we talk about here. It's not the fact that it's 72 degrees year round, which is kind of true, kind of not. There is some fluctuation. So what I want to talk about is a lot of the time people don't know, and this is going to be useful for you even if you want a vacation here, there is huge cloud coverage in San Diego in the months of May and June. In fact, we call it May gray, June gloom. We have a late summer here. Summer really doesn't tend to kick off until July, though it does tend to go all the way through October, sometimes leaking into November, where we have some beautiful, beautiful days and nights all the way often into mid-November. Now, once you get into December, January, February, it is not rare for us to have 40 degree mornings, 38 degree mornings, maybe even a little frost where that 32, 33 degree morning shows up. So some cold mornings, some warm days, some cool evenings. And so the number one thing I've noticed about San Diego, especially when I had a little stint for my 4 years of university living in upstate New York, is you could have a day there where sure, the weather was crummy, but it was 25 degrees in the morning, 27 degrees as a high, back to 25. So there's just very little fluctuation. Not the case here. We tend to have sometimes as much as 30 degree or more swings over the course of the day from our cools to our hot. So get ready to wear shorts, wear sweatshirt all in the same day. And in many ways, it's one of the things that I love about it because we do get to wear more than just our summer clothes. But something you may not have known that you need to know about living right here in San Diego County. Now, along those same lines, there is what we call the marine layer. So if you think about San Diego, let's take a look at a map. You have the 5 freeway. West of the 5, which is often some of our most expensive real estate. Think Del Mar, think La Jolla, Solana Beach, coastal Carlsbad. But nevertheless, it could be completely clouded in that part of town, while just some miles east, especially once you get east of the 5, you could be in pure sun, playing golf, swimming in the pool, literally getting sunburned, while your neighbors over on the coast are just completely experiencing nothing but gray. So this is the San Diego marine layer that you just want to know about. Of course, there's a Southern California marine layer. It's not exclusive to San Diego, but still one of the things that are often a determining factor when people are selecting what neighborhood they want to be in when choosing San Diego to live. Even if you already live here, thinking about moving within town, one of the key factors is, how important is that proximity to the ocean versus my need to see the sun more often? And so don't forget about our marine layer. By the way, I'm Dan Beer with eXp Realty, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so right now. Tap the bell for notifications. I want you to be among the very first to know of any changing market conditions and stay updated as I drop new videos on San Diego neighborhoods. Let's talk about tourism. So yes, it's great because it brings tons of cash, but it also brings some problems. I just want you to be aware of it. Now, I've got some stats in front of me. I'm going to read these off to you. 1 in 8 San Diegans literally is employed in something that has to do with tourism, right? And so they serve the visitor economy. Visitors spent an estimated $14.3 billion in 2023. So that brings a ton of wealth to the area here locally. And San Diego hosted an estimated 31.8 million visitors in 2023 and is at the very top of U.S. travel destinations. So all that's great, a lot of economy. It's like having our own Super Bowl, right, every year. I mean, just tons of money pours into the city, but with that, so does traffic. And that is something that you cannot help but feel right now as I'm filming this. I'm filming this right now in the month of late July. The month of late July. Do you know that's a month? There's the month of July, there's the month of late July. Who knew? But in any case, I'm filming this in late July, and we have what we call the races over at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. There's the racetrack. There's the Del Mar Fair itself. I still call it the Del Mar Fair. It's now called the San Diego County Fair. And there is just huge glut of traffic, especially in that area. It tends to be more coastal. So if, again, you're going to be along the 5 freeway, whether it's people making their way to the beach or to events that are happening along the coast, which tend to host a lot of events, And all of that tourism, which tends to flood in from Arizona and from other very warm states like Nevada, where they come and seek refuge from those 100-degree days here in San Diego, wanting to find those really beautiful, 80 type degree summer days. Well, it creates traffic. Now, the thing about that traffic is that it's also very predictable. I know not to be in certain parts of town at certain times. Once you're here, you're going to learn it. You're going to make your life around it. So it would not be, I don't think it's anything that I can even think of that I've ever sat with someone and said, hey, how's life going for you? And they go, oh, you know what? The traffic's killing me. It's really not the case. But if you're not aware of it and it's not something you're planning on, and let's say that you're literally going to work and live completely in the traffic, right? Like with the traffic instead of against the traffic, then that's sort of where you want to make those decisions where it could impact you. One last thing on traffic, just because I am conscious of the fact that you might be familiar with Los Angeles traffic and be thinking, oh, I didn't know San Diego had that. No. LA traffic's a totally different planet. I mean, LA traffic, forget about it. It could be midnight on a Sunday and you're stuck bumper to... This is not that. We are flying, we're flowing, we are, 65, 75 miles an hour, whatever you're doing on the highway. Most of the time, there's just simply predictable windows in which it's not going to happen. Let's shift gears and talk about the beaches. Yes, we have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, yada, yada, yada. What I wanted to make sure you know of is we have cold water. For about half the year, you're not getting into the water without a wetsuit, but nevertheless, you're still going to see that there are people in the water literally 365 days a year, rainstorms included. It doesn't matter. People are in the ocean. You just need to probably invest in your first wetsuit, especially if you're coming from the East Coast, let alone say the Carolinas or Florida, Georgia beaches. This is just simply a lot cooler water as it cycles south to us from the Arctic down the West Coast and finally to San Diego, and then finally makes its way to the equator where it all heats up. On the East Coast, it's the opposite cycle. So their water's coming up from the equator, up from the Caribbean, and then that's why they have so much warmer water there. So if you're accustomed to that, you're going to find that it's very different. Having said that, if you're a surfer, if you like water sports, if you like any of that, our waves are far superior to what you're going to find, say, in the beaches of Florida, where you just have these little rolling nothings. Here we have real waves, real water sports, real surfers, and we love it. We absolutely love it. And it's just a matter of understanding that temperature-wise, it's just going to simply be on the cooler side, nothing that a wetsuit can't handle. One more thing is that, of course, tied to the thing I just talked about a moment ago with tourism, our most popular beaches can get fairly crowded in those summer months, but there are so many beaches up and down the coast that most tourists have no idea about. And the locals, well, we're just enjoying the heck out of them. And sometimes they're the most beautiful beaches. So you'll learn that. And I only mention it because if you've made a judgment in the past about how crowded the beaches are, but you've made that judgment based on a visit you made as a tourist, just take my word for it, you were in the wrong place. Homelessness. Okay, let's talk about that. It is not what people make it out to be, okay? This isn't Los Angeles. There's not just like cities and encampment after encampment, but yeah, we do have them too. I just want to say, LA being so much of a bigger city, it gets a lot of the national headlines and pictures and media and all that. And so people might think it's the same here because yes, we're in California, but while we have the issue, it tends to be contained to certain areas. Again, not areas that I really ever go and think about, not areas that are that where my favorite restaurants are or my favorite bars or any of my favorite entertainment are not there. But is it something you're going to see? Is it something you're going to drive through? Is it something you're maybe going to have to explain to your children? Is it something that does impact the city on some level? Absolutely. Absolutely, the answer is yes. But having said that, again, we are a big city. We might not be LA, but we are still one of the top 10 biggest cities in the nation. And we have our share of homelessness. Now I want to talk about the North County versus South County bubble. And this is just really interesting. For me, I grew up using the entire county. I mean, when I grew up, I lived in the South Bay, which is Chula Vista, Bonita, that area. It's down in the southern part of San Diego. And I went to school much further north. I would go to Del Mar, to the beach. I would go to visit La Jolla. I mean, I just used the whole thing. What I came to learn as I got into real estate is there is absolutely this North County, South County division in that, say people that live in Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, they literally will refer to downtown San Diego as being San Diego. I always just referred to the entire county as being San Diego, the whole thing, right? It's all my oyster, so to speak. And it should be yours too. But just be aware that there is a decision to be made on where will the majority of your time be spent. Is it going to be in the North County? Is it going to be in the South County? Is it going to be more suburban? Is it going to be more urban? Do you want more land, or do you want a little bit of a more walkable area? And these are just decisions you get to make and to be aware of. Now, how does this affect you? Well, that's where I come in. That's where the team comes in. Just go ahead and drop a comment. We answer them all. And then also, you're going to see in the first comment, I've given you a number of ways that either email, text, call, set up a Zoom, where I'd love to have a conversation with you and see how we can adapt all of these issues to your lifestyle so that it's the right fit, we find the right area. I'm Dan Beer, and we'll see you on the next video.